because I don't sold out mine.
City Hall to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Is there any public comment for any matter not on our agenda this evening but under the city's jurisdiction? Seeing none, we'll move to the minutes from May 20th, 2025. Council has had those, has received those minutes. Are there any corrections or additions?
I have two. Carrie, under the fireworks ordinance drafts, midway down, there's a double A.
Thank you.
And then on the round table, where I mentioned to Eric about the water pooling in the bowl at the skate park.
Yes.
It wasn't because of one of the sprinklers, I just mentioned that one of them near there was broken.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one, Mayor.
Yes.
Carrie, on the fireworks ordinance draft, you say that one draft was written by J.B. Halleck. I was the scribe, but it was the official submission from the fireworks committee.
Okay. Instead of individually?
Right, it was not an individual submission.
Okay.
Are there any other corrections or additions to those minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as corrected.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the council meeting minutes from May 20th, 2025 as corrected. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Mr. Reagan, you're up.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. How we doing?
Good.
Sure. May I approach the council?
Sure.
I got some handouts here. So this is in reference to the laundromat. I just want to walk you through a couple things. If you'll notice, this is the bill that I just received in the mail here yesterday, as a matter of fact. And you'll note that the total bill for water, sewer, and garbage is $778. Does everyone see that? Okay. On April 8th, I received correspondence from the mayor stating that my water bill is going to go up $575. So go ahead and go to the next page, if you please. This is the last 16 months of my records for city water, sewer, garbage. You will note I also have the usage down there in the memo. You can see each month of my usage. And the average water bill is $180 a month. So per what I received in the mail yesterday, that is over $600 a month increase by $2. So I went from $180 a month to $778 a month per water bill. And the reason being for the jump was there was an error in, according to the letter from the mayor, there was an error with the size of line servicing the laundromat. The letter I received did not state what the size was. I had to inquire about that later. It was just a generic letter saying my bill was gonna go up $575. So after I inquired, well, what size was it? Or you have, the response was, it's a 2-inch line, and for that, it goes up to a different water service line bill, which I've also included in here. So if you go to the next page, please, that's from our ordinances. You'll see I drew a line there and a star asterisk where my monthly average is for usage. Does everyone see that okay? And you'll note that if you have a 2-inch line, the maximum monthly gallons allowed is 75,000 gallons. And again, my average was 15,000, which is, what, 1/5 of that? So I just wanted to note that as well. So I'll go ahead and to the next page. This is a water bill from Arizona, Phoenix, in the desert. Tier 1 rate, this is a small lawn here, but 22,580 gallons was used at a rate of 73 cents per 1,000 gallons. The flat tier rate was $7.86 with the monthly usage of $1.88 for a total of almost $9. Then there's the monthly sewer charge of $26 and some other amenities on here. But you can see that the total monthly water sewer garbage bill down in Phoenix, Arizona in the desert is $36. So I just want to have that for comparison purposes. As one of the council members asked me to do, is don't ever come here with a complaint, but come here with a solution. And that's what I want to propose to the council today. That's this write-up right here. And I'm just going to read it through. Now this is a potential solution. I recommend that you all take this under consideration, that until this is resolved, that you put a pause on my monthly water bill going up over $600 a month. Because quite frankly, that puts me well into the red of keeping the laundromat open. And I'll go into the history of that, why that came to be here in a minute. But I'm going to read this. The most equitable, fair way is to get everyone on a water meter. The city must incentivize everyone to do so. The more people on a meter, the cheaper it will be to install for all users. Grants possibly. Until then, consider this. Concept 1, you can see the Phoenix, Arizona bill that I provided. Increase the flat rates for those not on meters and who have lawn irrigation. Now, why is that? Obviously, if someone's not watering their lawn, there's no reason to put them on a meter. They could be on a flat rate, and that way they have predictability. But anyone who's on a lawn, as you all know, and we've all seen them, they're out there watering 24/7. Oh, I forgot to shut it off. Oh, I've got 40 acres back there versus a half acre, whatnot. So truly, a water meter is the only fair and equitable way to treat everyone here in the city. That's it. And you just take away all the guessing game and all the consternation and all the frustration, because everyone pays per usage. Those who are on meters charge per 1,000 gallons used. Continue to use a tiered system like you have. You can either continue to call it a water service line size, or you can use a tiered system like they use down in Arizona. Okay, here's my proposed wording to 1.3 in the city ordinance. If it can be proved by the user that the average monthly gallon usage is less than the monthly gallons allowed, then user will be billed at the lesser water service line size below the maximum monthly gallons allowed. You go back to that one comparison where I drew where my usage was 1/5 of what the maximum amount is. Furthermore, in order to calculate the average monthly gallons usage must be no less than a minimum of the most recent 6 months of history and up to no more than a year. Burden of proof is on the user, not on the city. For example, if a commercial user has a 2-inch line and the maximum gallons allowed is 75,000 gallons, but the user proves that the usage is 15,000 gallons on average, then the user will be billed at the lesser rate, which is the 1-inch water service line charge. If user proves that usage is 31,000 gallons on average, then the user will be billed at the 1.5-inch line size. Fair and equitable based on what the usage is. I mean, seriously, if you think about it, is if I have a 2-inch line, which was there before I even bought the building, and let's say I have an art gallery in there, or it's some random, a bookstore, and I use 1 gallon of water each month, according to your ordinances, I'm gonna get billed $650 a month just for water usage. Okay, so that's why we have to use some common sense when we look at these ordinances. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, but on the latter side, what happens if you're more, right? To be fair, if I put myself in your seats, I'm like, well, we gotta pay for this water project somehow. Okay, if it is noticed by the city that the average monthly gallon usage is more than the monthly gallons allowed for that service line, then the user will be billed at the appropriate water service line size for the proven usage. The city must calculate the average monthly gallon usage, which you have that already, using no less than a minimum of the most recent 6 months of history and up to no more than a year. So the same thing applies the other way. For example, if I have a 1-inch line and the maximum gallons allowed is 12,000 gallons for that 1-inch line, however, it is proven that the user has an average of 31,000 gallons, then the user will be billed at the 1.5-inch rate. If it is proven that I'm using 77,000 gallons, I just leave the water on out there in the yard, then that user will be moved up to the 2-inch water service line rate. Or you can get rid of the water service line rate vocabulary and use a tiered system like they do in Arizona. That makes more sense, because that'll get away from that ability to have a debate on what your service line size is. So with that, after much thought and consideration, again, I'm bringing a solution to a big problem. But quite frankly, I want to go back to the history of the laundromat. I did not buy that building to have a laundromat. It was to expand my FRCS financial company. And I got a phone call from Colleen, as a matter of fact, bless her, miss her. She's like, Chase, you're not gonna close down the laundromat, are you? What's the city gonna do? I'm like, yeah, I just don't have any plans for it. And so I worked with another gentleman, young man, trying to get him set up to move the laundromat over across this way, and that didn't work out for him. And so then I decided I'd get another call from the city, like, are you really gonna close down? Like, well, let me take a hard look at it. And so I developed the business plan, like anything. And I went and got a loan, $100,000 just for the equipment itself, okay? And then I had the city water in there, $180 a month. That has been historical, so I had that in my business plan. If the city would have told me, Chase, hey, you're gonna put this in, but your water bill is gonna go from $180 to $780, there's no way I would have invested that money, because that doesn't pencil. That's just the bottom line. It doesn't pencil. I'm not asking for a favor here, I'm just trying to be fair and equitable. That's true. If the city wants a laundromat, let me know. If it doesn't, I think you'll let me know too. But I think the city, after been doing this for 2 years, it gets a lot of usage, and it is a needed service for our town, okay? So the argument can be, well, Chase, just raise your rates. Well, what's gonna happen? All the business owners know what happens there, right? Okay, I'm already at more than what Helen it is because of the new equipment. I raised them another $4 a load versus $3. What are they gonna do? They're gonna go to Helen, right? It's no difference than coffee. Something happens to Angie and you have to raise your prices $1 per cup of latte, they're gonna go to Coffee Cup, right? It's the same thing. Same thing with your business, right? Same thing with American Legion. Okay, they're gonna come next door.
Not Legion.
But anyway, please consider this. I've put a lot of thought and effort into this to make this fair and equitable. There's a lot of work that you have yet to do, and I'm here to help in any way I can. I hope this spurs a conversation. I would ask to entertain a motion for this If you're not comfortable with doing that right at this point in time, then at least ask that you entertain a motion to keep me paying the same rate I have for the past 3 years until we figure this out. Because I can't afford that. And no laundromat could afford that. It just doesn't make sense. Thank you for your time.
Do council members have any questions for Chase at this time?
Can I ask you one?
Absolutely.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we have a minimum of 1 year before we can reanalyze the water rate costs?
That was a recommendation from our lender, from Department
That we
of,
wait the first year?
that we not look at rate changes.
And then one for Angie, do we know when the water, ordinances are up for review?
I do believe that it is not until next year that it's up for review. The bulk water rates was up for review and is going to be presented at this meeting tonight, but not the rates in general for water.
Follow up?
This is, Chase, I know you want a fast response, but government's designed not to respond quickly. Changes to ordinances require multiple public hearings and things like that. Do you mind if we go through our bulk water rate discussion, which will give us a better idea of what we might be able to do here?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and I recognize that you're gonna have to do that. I guess I just asked that because rate changes, you guys have set the rates long before I got the letter on April 8th raising my rates. There's actually no need for me to be charged another $600 until we get this figured out based on just what was answered, right? Because that wasn't planned, that was not part of the calculation on the original rates for this year. So as long as you just allow me to continue to pay the existing rate that I have been, until we figure it out, then we'll go from there.
I believe it is premature for council to take such action tonight.
I-
You have
I
been,
agree with you.
you've received this information just tonight, have not had a chance to read and study the proposal, and so we can put a follow-up on the next agenda.
So here's the other thing too, is the last time I was here, we talked about reasonable notice, okay? The water bill is billed in arrears, basically. So this month, right now, for June 1st, my usage is
Mr. Reagan,
billed.
you're out of order.
How's that?
You did not ask me.
Ask you what? I can
You can
address the council.
speak.
Oh, sorry. Madam Mayor, can I speak?
Yes, you may.
Sorry about that. So, the way the water is calculated is in arrears. So, again, on April 8th, I received a letter from the mayor, all right? The last board meeting I was here, we talked about reasonable notice, and we all agreed 90 days was reasonable, okay? April 8th to June 1st was not 90 days. So I'm asking, at least give me the 90 days, which gives you more time to put this in order. But the reason it's billed in arrears is that's how you're billed off the water meter usage. So this month is 13,000 gallons. That started on May 1st. So really, in essence, you didn't even give me 30 days notice, because the letter I got was April 8th, and the new calculation for the new bill happened 22 days later. That's not fair, and it's not right. We talked about this last time, about 90 days notice. How much notice did we give the entire city when we raised the rates? So again, I'm not asking for a favor or anything. Please be reasonable with me. I've invested a lot of money into this town because I love this town. All right? I support you all. I'm asking you to support me. Just be fair. It's not a favor. 90 days.
Any other comments or questions from council members?
This will be on the next agenda.
It will be.
Does that occur before the next billing cycle?
It does.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is an auditor statement from auditing firm Dean, Downey and Associates. It's dated May 23rd, 2025, to the City Council. We are engaged to audit the financial statements of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the City of Townsend for the year ended June 30th, 2024. Professional standards require that we provide you, would you take that conversation outside, please? Professional standards require that we provide you with the following information related to our audit. We would also appreciate the opportunity to meet with you to discuss the information further, since a two-way dialogue can provide valuable information for the audit process. Our responsibility under U.S. generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards. As stated in our engagement letter dated May 26, 2023, our responsibility as described by professional standards is to express opinions about whether the financial statements prepared by management with your oversight are fairly presented in all material respects in conformity with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. Our audit of the financial statements does not relieve you or management of your responsibilities. As part of our audit, we will consider the internal control of the City of Townsend. Such considerations will be solely for the purpose of determining our audit procedures and not to provide any assurance concerning such internal control. As part of obtaining reasonable assurance about whether City of Townsend's financial statements are free of material misstatements, we will perform tests of the City of Townsend's compliance with certain provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, and grants. However, providing an opinion on compliance with those provisions is not an objective of our audit. Our responsibility is to plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. We are responsible for communicating significant matters related to the audit that are, in our professional judgment, relevant to your responsibilities in overseeing the financial reporting process. However, we are not required to design procedures specifically to identify such matters. We are also responsible for communicating particular matters required by law, regulation, agreement, or other requirements applicable to the engagement. We gave significant consideration to particular circumstances or relationships, such as financial interests, business or family relationships, or non-attest, non-audit services provided or expected to be provided, and have implemented safeguards to ensure independence. Generally accepted accounting principles provide for certain required supplementary information to supplement the basic financial statements. Our responsibility with respect to budgetary comparison schedule and budget to GAAP reconciliation, management's discussion and analysis, schedule of changes in total OPEB liability and related ratios, schedule of proportionate share of the net pension liability, and schedule of contributions, which supplement the basic financial statements, is to apply certain limited procedures in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. However, the required supplementary information will not be audited, and because the limited procedures do not provide us with sufficient evidence to express an opinion or provide any assurance, we will not express an opinion or provide any assurance on the required supplementary information. The plan, scope, timing of the audit, and other. An audit includes examining on a test basis evidence supporting the accounts and disclosures in the financial statements. Therefore, our audit will involve judgment about the number of transactions to be examined and the areas to be tested. Our audit will include obtaining an understanding to the entity and its environment, including internal controls sufficient to assess the risks of material misstatement of the financial statements and to design the nature, timing, and extent of further audit procedures. Material misstatements may result from 1, errors, 2, fraudulent financial reporting, 3, misappropriation of assets, or 4, violations of laws or governmental regulations that are attributable to the entity or to the acts by management or employees acting on behalf of the entity. We will generally communicate our significant findings at the conclusion of the audit. However, some matters could be communicated sooner. particularly if significant difficulties are encountered during the audit where assistance is needed to overcome the difficulties, or if the difficulties may lead to modified opinion. We will also communicate any internal control related matters that are required to be communicated under professional standards. We expect to begin our audit on approximately May 1, 2025 and issue our report on approximately June 15th, 2025. Robert Denning is the engagement partner and is responsible for supervising the engagement and signing the report or authorizing another individual to sign it. This information is intended solely for the use of City Council and management of City of Townsend, as it is not intended to be and should not be used by anyone other than these specified parties. Very truly yours, Jonathan Mart, CPA, Denning, Downey and Associates, PC. Makes you want to go right out and become a CPA and audit governmental entities, doesn't it? In a nutshell, our audit is in process. Next item on the agenda is informational purposes only, 609 South Harrison property. The city has received 3 separate complaints regarding some work that has, regarding some activity on the property. We put together a packet of information that council has seen and is available to others attending this meeting. The developer, Mr. Sean McIntyre, is with us this evening. Would you identify yourself, please? There he is. The city planner, Jeremy Fadness from WWC Engineering, is here tonight. And Nicole Brown, one of the former property owners, one of the former owners of that property, is here tonight. Since that packet of information is put together, the city attorney has issued a letter, has issued a notice of zoning violation to Mr. McIntyre. And today, late this afternoon, the city is in receipt of an email from the city attorney forwarding an email from Mr. McIntyre's attorney, which I will read at this time. City attorney is Ed Boozer. Ed, thank you for discussing the notice of violation this morning. As discussed, my client, Sean McIntyre, is agreeable to taking reasonable steps to work with the city toward resolving the alleged zoning violations on his property. Mr. McIntyre did not receive the notice of zoning violation that was emailed last Friday. Given the abruptness of the notice in combination with the city council scheduling of the public hearing this evening, we respectfully request until the end of the week to provide a formal response. Please note that no active development is occurring on the property. In addition, we believe Mr. McIntyre had the prior approval of the city's planner to temporarily store the modular homes on his property. Please confirm your agreement that we may submit a formal response up to and including Friday, June 6th. Thank you, Aaron Arnold. With that, I will open the floor to questions. I would ask that if you wish to ask the question, you direct the question to me and give me an opportunity then to call on the person most appropriate to respond. Are there questions?
Mayor, I have one.
Yes.
The response from Mr. McIntyre indicated that there was the belief that there was prior approval from the city planner to store the mobiles.
That is what that email says, yes.
Do we have a confirmation from the city planner that that approval had in fact been provided?
Jeremy Fadness, would you care to respond to that question?
No, I had no knowledge that they were gonna move trailers onto that property. We discussed at several meetings, what his plans were, as pre-application meetings essentially, to coordinate what permits were gonna be required. We were not told at those meetings, and Neil, the city engineer, was also at those meetings. We were not told that structures were gonna be moved onto the property. So I had no knowledge until I got calls from, Jenny, deputy city clerk, that stuff was starting to happen. That's the point I knew that was happening, so no, that's not the case.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre, would you care to respond?
Ma'am, I have a prepared statement, and if the council would like, I'd like to read that, but I'm not prepared to respond to individual questions per the advice of the council.
You may read your statement.
Thank you, may I approach?
Absolutely.
So first off, council, thank you for taking the time. Mayor, most of you don't know me, I've not met most of you, my name is Sean McIntyre. Per the complaint, just to address it right off the top, these modulars are not from any man camps. I'm assuming that that's just referring to like the oil fields and the coast, something like that. These were built in Idaho, and they've never been lived in or occupied. So right off the top. I am from out of state, but I spent 10 years in the Army. My wife and I chose Montana when I got out. Veteran of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. We chose Montana because we love the culture here. We wanted to raise our kids here and establish a life here, and we don't have any regrets. I initially contacted the city several months ago regarding the development of the property. The city was very receptive to additional housing, and since that time I've been working diligently with city officials on the planning and permitting process. Foremost, please understand, I did believe that I had the city's authorization to temporarily store the modular homes on the property. I spoke with the planner, Jeremy Fadness, regarding the delivery and storage of the mods in a Teams meeting on Monday before the delivery. During that conversation, I was told by Jeremy that I could store modulars on my property as there are no codes prohibiting the storage of personal property. On the Monday of the delivery, Public Works Director Eric visited the site. That was in the morning. I informed him of what was going on that afternoon. My point here is I wasn't hiding anything. I had no intention to hide anything. I informed him of what was going on. That afternoon, the modulars were delivered. City Code Compliance Officer John visited this site as well. I had not met him before. We met that afternoon.